The Eyes of Love. Part 2. Jamilu tried, time after time, to comfort and convince Jamila. He would hold her hands, assuring her that her blindness was never a burden to him. He would swear his love in words and in actions, but it was as though his devotion only deepened her sorrow. The more he consoled her, the angrier she became, angry at her fate, angry at herself, angry at the God who denied her eyes. What was once a love filled with laughter and shared moments now carried shadows of pain. Jamilu's proposal, born from the purest love, had opened a wound in Jamila's heart that words could not heal. One lovely morning, Jamila was summoned by the famous Dibia of the village, the healer whose hands were said to hold mysteries beyond understanding. With Jamilu by her side, she walked nervously to the Dibia's compound, guided by his familiar steps. When they arrived, the Dibia looked at her with eyes full of calm wisdom. "Jamila," he said, "your prayers have been heard. Someone has donated a pair of eyes for you. From today, the darkness will end." Her lips trembled, her hands shook. She wanted to speak, but words refused her. Jamilu squeezed her palm, steadying her, though his own heart thundered with both joy and fear. The DBA began his work immediately. Days passed in treatment and rituals. Herbs and chants were used for days. And then, within a week, the miracle happened. Jamila was discharged. The first morning she opened her eyes, light rushed in like a flood. Colors, shapes, people, and places she had only known through touch and description now burst before her in living reality. She gasped, covering her mouth, tears streaming down her cheeks. From that moment, she became the heartbeat of celebration in the village. Jamila walked up and down the paths, marveling at everything she had once only seen in her mind. The glistening stream, the towering hills, the red earth of the market square, the colorful wrappers of the women, the playful children running barefoot. Her laughter rang louder than ever before. She touched every tree, every stone, every wall, now seeing what she had once only felt. She gazed at the faces of those she had known all her life, her family, her neighbors, her friends, and rejoiced as though she was meeting them anew. And everywhere she went, she whispered a prayer of gratitude. "Thank you, God, for giving me eyes." The village celebrated with her, for Jamila's miracle was seen as a blessing to them all. But deep within her joy, a quiet question lingered. Now that she could see, what would become of the love that had carried her through the darkness? One quiet evening, Jamila sat at home with her mother, enjoying a simple meal. The house was filled with warmth, lamps flickering, the aroma of food lingering in the air. She was still basking in the joy of her newfound sight, wondering why Jamilu had not come around as much since her miracle. Suddenly, from outside, a familiar voice rang through the compound. "Jamila! Jamila!" She froze, spoon falling from her hand. Her heart leapt. That voice, steady, deep, unmistakable, was Jamilu's. She jumped to her feet, eyes wide with excitement. "That's Jamilu's voice," she exclaimed, her chest rising and falling with relief. Turning quickly to her mother, she added in a trembling whisper, "I thought he wouldn't come to see me. I thought he was not happy that I have my sight." Without waiting for an answer, she rushed out into the night, her heart pounding with longing. At last, she would see him again, the man who had been her world when darkness covered her eyes. But as she reached the yard, her steps faltered. The sight before her rooted her in shock. Jamilu stood there, calling her name again, his arms stretched slightly forward, his steps hesitant and searching. Her breath caught in her throat. Her eyes widened in disbelief. The truth struck her like a thunderbolt. Jamilu was blind. Her joy clashed with sorrow in a storm of emotions. She covered her mouth, tears burning her eyes as she whispered to herself, "Oh God, all this time, he never told me." The man who had been her eyes, who had painted the world for her with words, who had guided her every step, was now himself walking in darkness. What happened? How? And in that moment, Jamila's world turned again, not into blindness, but into a deeper confusion. There was silence for a long moment, heavy as the night itself. Jamila stood frozen, staring at Jamilu, her Jamilu, groping slightly in the darkness, his blind eyes searching for her presence. Then, in a voice steady but carrying the ache of his own vulnerability, Jamilu broke the silence. Now that you have eyes, will you marry me? The question hung in the air, trembling with hope. End of part 2. Part 3 coming next Sunday. Don't miss it.